Hey guys, hopefully my mic's on today. It looks like it is. I'm going to go over here to the comments. So welcome. I am Marcie Billen and I'm a resident of Norman, Oklahoma. And this is my weekly show explaining different news concepts, different ideas, different things that are happening in Norman and in the Oklahoma City metro in general. So hopefully I'm fun as I'm explaining all this stuff because this could be like your weekly catch up on the news. I read the news over the week and also different city websites and stuff to really get a handle on what's actually going on in our community. So as you may have guessed by my banner here at the bottom, I am a real estate agent. And if you have any questions as we're going through this stuff, be sure to pipe in, ask questions, let me know what you need. You can comment and I'll see it and then answer the question live. So that's how that works. So thanks so much for joining us. All right. So the first thing as we jump in is last week, last Tuesday, which seems like a literal decade ago, I went to this meeting in Norman and they were announcing their new entertainment district. So let me get my stuff up here. Slides. I'm just uploading my stuff because, yeah. Oops, my downloads did not download. Where are they? Let me just share my screen. Oops, like this. There we go. Share screen. Share screen. Where is it? There it is. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see that. It looks like it's showing up pretty well. Sometimes if I don't have it clipped or have it in PDF form, it doesn't show up very well, but that really looks like it is. So basically what happened was I went to this meeting last week. They started explaining that they wanted to build $1 billion entertainment district in Norman, Oklahoma. And kind of where this came from, a few years ago, they wanted to, this people in the city, not the entire city, because this quickly went away because people got really mad. They wanted to rebuild a Lloyd Noble Center. So Lloyd Noble Center, if you don't know, is where the basketball teams and other sports play sports for the University of Oklahoma. I think this building looks horrendous personally. I mean, obviously the parking lot is ginormous. It's hard to walk to. It's just to me, it takes up a large amount of space that maybe needs to be used for something else. And it's old. It's very old. One of the things they pointed out was it would be the fourth oldest arena in the SEC as OU moves to the SEC next year. But, sometimes that's just how it works. But with this entertainment district, so this is a mock-up, what you're seeing as I'm sharing it with you. This is a mock-up of what this arena would kind of look like. This reminds of the Staples Center, right? That's what it reminds me of. And this isn't actually what it's going to look like necessarily, but it's an interesting version. So where they're planning to put this is next to I-35. So here's a problem. With Lloyd Noble Center, where the basketball team typically plays, it's in the middle of town, really on the south end, middle of town, end of campus, on the south end of campus. And it is hard to get to, and it makes traffic suck. If they put an arena next to I-35, the traffic goes a little bit better. Right now, that area is called University North Park, and it's right next to where Trey Young and his family is building the Young Athletic Center, or is that what Young Family Athletic Center, I think? YFAC? Yeah, that's what it's called. So we're really excited for that to open. That's supposed to open either later this year or early next year, I believe. So just really big things to come to Norman. So with this entertainment district, this $1 billion entertainment district, it's going to be along I-35. It's between Rock Creek and Tecumseh on I-35 on the east side. One thing that they said was there would be housing for thousands. And I was like, housing for thousands. What does that mean? They outlined some condos, some townhouses, and some single family homes. I'm wondering like where those are going to be. And I hope that they answer that, in the coming weeks. And like if those are rental situations, if those are ones that, they're having developers come in and build these, the idea is to build green space that is walkable for the community. So I'd really love to hear what you think of this. If you live in Norman, if you don't live in Norman, part of the issue, the thing with this, the reason why people are wanting it is because other cities are getting stuff like this. And Norman is the third largest city in Oklahoma. So basically, why not us, right? Cool. So the next thing that I have here is, I thought this was really interesting. This is the ghost tours that are returning to Norman. I don't think that they've had these since the pandemic, which makes sense. But basically, this guy, Jeff Provine, and I have one of his books, he started doing ghost tours in Norman. One thing he says about his ghost tours, and I have them over here, is that they're kind of like steeped in history for Norman. And this guy's actually from Enid, which is a town north of Oklahoma City, is quite a small town north of Oklahoma City. And I think he's a teacher at OCCC, or as we call it, OTRIP, which is a community college in South Oklahoma City. But he goes over in this newspaper article that he had in the transcript, kind of different like ideas about his haunted ghost tours. So what he says about his ghost tours is that his are haunted history tours. They're not necessarily like where you're no one's like trying to jump out and scare you. So like I've thought about doing this. My husband doesn't like ghosts, so he probably won't go with me. I'll probably have to talk someone else into going with me. He likes to focus on the folklore and the stories behind the ghost stories. So I think it sounds really interesting and I kind of want to go. So obviously I'll tell you guys if I do. Very good. So the next thing, and here's the ticket prices. It's $12. It's going to be in downtown. He covers about a mile. So like different stories, like haunted restaurants, a gangster buried near his hideout just east of town, and then a barber still working the shop despite his grisly death 100 years ago. That would be interesting. And he has this old picture of Norman, so that's really cool. So yeah, I like that kind of stuff. I think it's interesting. Next, so September 23rd is one of these like big events for kiddos. And I cover this because I don't have it in here. I cover this. I'm talking about Touch of Shark now, not the ghost stories. But I cover this because I think the Norman Public Library System, or what's called the Pioneer Library System, has been so helpful for me as a resident of Norman. I see kids in there all the time when I'm there. If you didn't know, Norman actually has 3 public libraries, like different buildings. There's a central library, the east side and the west side. The west side is like the administrative. I haven't actually been in the east side. I probably need to go over there. It's a really cool looking building. It's a little bit smaller. I live really close to the central one, which is in downtown Norman. And that's the one that I tend to go to. I think I live 3 miles from it. So that's where I go pick up my holds. They also have like learning labs and things like that. So they have this Touch a Truck fundraiser event. And the proceeds go to supporting like different programs with the Pioneer Library System in the 6 locations in Cleveland County. And what they do is they bring all the big trucks. Oh, sorry, my nose is so itchy today. They bring all the big trucks from like the police department, the fire department, like different construction sites and stuff like that. And the kids get to go and play on them. Of course, they're being supervised whenever this happens. So dump trucks, cherry pickers, cement mixers, buses, and street sweepers are some of the things that the kids can expect. This is a donation-based event, so you can donate as you go in. So if you don't have the means to donate, then you don't have to. The first hour, so this is on September 23rd. Don't know if I said that. The first hour from 9 to 10 as they do this is for the sound sensitive children. So no one's allowed to, honk the horns or anything for the first hour. And then after that, the kids get to honk the horns and turn the sirens on and do all of that stuff. So a lot of this money goes towards the summer activities that kids get to have access to in Cleveland County. So I think it's a really great event, and it's fun for kids to see, what they're learning about, or like what toy trucks they have and stuff in person. So that's kind of the point of the event. So it's a 3-hour event. It's from 9 to noon on September 23rd. Perfect. Next thing I have up here is the monks. And I didn't put this in here either, but the Norman Cultural Connection, they are hosting, and let me just share this actually. Let me do this. I'm going to put this up here for you. Hopefully you can see this just a little bit. So the Norman Cultural Connection is hosting this event with the monks from the Gaydon-Schartzy Monastic University. And this happens almost every year. Of course, it didn't happen during COVID, and I think this might be the first year they've come back since COVID. So these are Tibetan monks, and what they end up doing is having like a lecture series, but they also do this painting. So it is a mandala sand painting. And you can go and see this. This is a free event. There's, of course, donations if you want to give a donation. I think this is so cool that we bring this into our community because it's just something that maybe you wouldn't get to see unless we had it in our community. So this is, the proceeds are going to benefit the St. Francis Animal Rescue Center. And who puts this on is the Norman Arts Council. And this is actually a huge event. Like, how many days is this thing? Space is limited. You have to pre-register through the library. And yeah, daily 10 a.m. to 6 a.m. starting on September 18th for the mandala. So that's what you're seeing there, which is kind of crazy that they work on that all day, every day. Cool. All right, next up, I'm coming down here to this very interesting article that came up, and I read it, and I had to read it a few times, to be perfectly honest with you. So this is actually in the Oklahoman. This isn't specifically about Norman, but it is an article about the 10 most and least equitable school districts in Oklahoma and why. So it was hard to understand at first, just, letting you know, it was a little bit difficult. But essentially, it's outlining the average, if the larger funding gaps. So like basically some schools are going to have more dollar per kid and some schools are going to have less. So the first 10, the most equitable school districts in Oklahoma. Oh, wow. That really made my face go bright. There are 10 of these that they have listed here. I would, if you want to, go read this article. It's super interesting. So the first 10 are like Barnstable, Pawhuska, Gracemont, Thackerville. If you don't know where these are, like, that's understandable. It's understandable. So these are the most equitable school districts in Oklahoma. So they're spending like the average, how do I say this? It's like the average on the kid. They set it down here really good. The study gave each school district a score for expenditures, removing 1 point out of 50 for each 1% above the state's average. Yes, so it's like the average has to be at the average. So if they're spending more, like these schools are, Maple, Valco, Burlington, Bray Doyle, I don't know where these schools are, to be perfectly honest with you. But these schools are spending $16,000, $26,000, $23,000 per student. And it's just saying like these kids, because they're getting more money per kid, it's not equitable to the kids who are in these school districts where they're not getting this amount. That is the line for the equity across these school districts. So some different things that, aren't fun to point out about Oklahoma. Oklahoma is, of course, ranked 48th in education. I don't know if you knew that, but everyone who typically lives here, we know that and think about it often. Oklahoma is ranked 49th in the U.S. for pre-K through 12 education and 35th for higher education. Overall, Oklahoma has the 24th least equitable schools in the nation, according to this study from this article. Like I said, getting your mind around these numbers is really kind of difficult and interesting, but it might be something that is useful for you to think about. I have two more things to share with you, I believe. Yes. Okay, this one's a little less intense. This is the fall foliage calendar. So if you've ever traveled to New England, which I got to do last fall, you have this calendar. It's like the fall foliage calendar. Like when are the trees going to be red and beautiful? Well, we have this for Oklahoma. And you have to see, let's see, it's right here is easiest to see. Oklahoma is definitely split into northern and southern. And so the northern part is going to change a week or two earlier than the southern portion of Oklahoma. That is how it works. So basically, I was just looking for this, was what the week is that we're going to have our peak color change in Oklahoma this fall. And they're saying it's going to be the week of November 6th. That's going to be a lot of northern Oklahoma and then some of southern Oklahoma. And then on November 13th is kind of whenever the rest of the state turns the red. So some of the best places, the best spot that I hear is the best place to see colors is going to be the Talamina Scenic Byway. And that's going to be in the southeastern part of the state. From where I live, it's going to be, I think, a 3.5-hour drive for me to get there. And I think it's a 60-mile, I'd have to check that. It's a 60-mile like scenic byway that is basically through a national forest. So that's why it's a great spot. Other options to me is like really anywhere on that east side of Oklahoma, because those are in the foothills of some mountains that are essentially located in Arkansas. And then, of course, Arkansas is also great for looking at all of the fall foliage, and you can get there pretty easily. Like it's only a 5-hour drive from Norman, Oklahoma to Hot Springs, Arkansas, which is a national park. So that might be something you would be interested in. And then the last thing I have on my list today is the state fair. State fair is big time in Oklahoma, in Oklahoma City. Tulsa would have been last week. So this is like an article about all the things that you need to know about the state fair. So ticket prices go up the day that it starts, which it starts on the 14th. Today is the 12th, so it starts on Thursday. A few different things here with the fair. Thursdays are Thrifty Thursday. So this Thursday and next Thursday are both going to be $8 for admission instead of $15. And then other things on here, they have some really cool like old pictures. Parking at the fair can be free. You can also pay $10 a day if you want to be a little bit closer. That is something you can do. Carnival opens at 1 o'clock every day, and besides Saturday and Sunday, where it opens at 11. And then you can get the unlimited wristbands or, of course, pay for tickets to ride carnival rides. If you ride carnival rides, like, let me know, because, like, I feel like you're risking your life. But I wouldn't do it. Not anymore. It just feels like it would hurt. So the other really popular things are, of course, the music. So we have Tracy Bird, Stockley, Lou Graham from Foreigner, I'm guessing. I'm not a huge fan of that band. Other things, one of the biggest thing is the Disney on Ice. So this year it is Frozen with Encanto. And I think you can still get tickets for that. Most of our friends with children end up going to the Disney on Ice. So I hope that was all helpful for you. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and do that for more information, for other videos and shorts. And please hit that like button on this video so other people can also see this video, and that might help them as well. So thanks so much for joining, and I will see you next week at the same time.